What happened to Sézane's quality? Has it really decreased? Is it true there are two batches of the same items traveling around the world? Today I'm here to shed some light on what possibly may be happening as an industry expert. The other day I was watching this video from my friend Mariana, who recently bought a Leontine. So a very high on demand Sézane piece, a basic staple in the Sézane catalog and assortment. The only thing is, she washed it for the first time and this happened. Let's hear it and then I will give you my reply on what possibly may be happening as a person who's worked many years in the consumer goods industry.
Sézane's Leontine sweater is one of the most iconic pieces in most Sézanettes wardrobes. I couldn't be any different. I got mine last year. However, I had no idea this would happen with me after the very first full wash. I followed Sézane's care instructions and this was the result. The dye from the navy stripes blended all over my sweater. Where I have, can you see this? This is all remains of that navy dye. Even the tag got stained, as you can see. Can you see it? Let me just fold it. Maybe you can see it better from the inside out, but all these acro parts here have some blended navy dye. I shared in one of Sézane's Reddit subs, and the reaction and feedback I got was very surprising to me. A lot of people commented saying that the same thing happened with them. And even one person said apparently she bought the Leontine straight out from one of Sézane's flagships, and she went back and showed them the stained Leontine, and the sales associate just told her that this is common and they offered her a return.
Let me tell you what I think happened, and of course bear in mind that I have no way of knowing that in this specific case this is happening to Sézane, but this is a common practice in the industry and it's a plausible explanation as to why certain people report their Leontine or whatever other item being super qualitative and certain other people report it as being not as qualitative, and even if the item was bought in the same period, possibly even from the same store. First of all, there's a possibility that Sézane has changed the supplier. So you know that Sézane doesn't really produce anything of their own. They don't have an atelier, they don't have a physical place where they produce all of their garments. They design all of their garments and then they assign different designs to a supplier that actually physically produces and creates these pieces. In many cases they produce the entire thing, in other cases they actually produce just some parts and they get shipped, for example, buttons from another supplier, etc, etc. So that's the first possibility, that they really just change the supplier overall. But there is another possibility, and that would explain why there are different batches or reports of different batches of the same item traveling around the world. So what happens in the industry, in any segment of the consumer goods industry, is that sometimes for some very high on demand items that may have gone viral and constantly sell out, the suppliers cannot really face the change in the production volumes that the company requires. So it so happens that company A, hypothetical case, it's Sézane, but let's call it company A, outsources the production of an item to a first supplier, the supplier B. And this item goes viral many times and it's out of stock many times, and obviously it takes a long time to produce the item for the supplier B, right? And sometimes in some cases they cannot really face the production of the increase in production demanded by the company A. Because of course one supplier cannot really have just one client, so Like one company, one client cannot take 90%, 100% of their production line. That's a big risk for the supplier. But company A doesn't want people to forget that they produce this item, and especially when it's a very hot brand and other brands are duping the item, they don't want people to go for the dupe. They want people to still buy their item. So what happens is that company A searches for supplier C, supplier D, other suppliers that are able to produce the item so that at the end, the company A has the volumes that they need to move the item and supply for the demand of this item. Now, obviously, all of these suppliers, they may be new to the company, so the company A tries to really evaluate the supplier C, the supplier D, the supplier E, and choose the right partner. In some cases, it so happens that the supplier C, supplier D, supplier E, they actually produce a prototype of the item that's really qualitative, passes all the quality assurance tests, and the deal is made. But as they produce batches, a second round of quality assurance does not come immediately. So it happens sometimes that some items are put on the market and they're not as qualitative because the supplier C, supplier D, supplier E, whatever other supplier has in the meantime changed one of their materials from the prototype to the actual production line. So in this case, for example, they may have changed the die. The company A, hypothetically Sézane, had no way of knowing that they put some items on the market that weren't as qualitative as the supplier promised and the supplier delivered in the prototypes or in the first batch of the item, right? And then as consumers report faulty items and a second round of tests for quality assurance takes place, they discover that there's actually something faulty that they have in their warehouses. And this is all legal, by the way. It's absolutely normal. The company is not forced to tell the consumer that they changed their supplier or their production line, just as long as they declare where the item is made and the composition of the item itself, the recipe, doesn't really change. But it does happen, and it's normal because you guys want the item, you want to buy it from the brand, has to make money, the brand has to pay their employees. Their employees are like you guys, just working to make ends meet or other goals in their life, right? So obviously it's not like a finger pointing round, it's just an answer to what may be happening at the moment because Sézane is in a very high growth phase and they're very high on demand. They may have outsourced their production line to more and more partners in the same country or in other countries, doesn't matter, because they give the designs requirements for the materials so that the final product doesn't change. But sometimes it does change. Sometimes you don't realize. In this case, if this happened, they will probably change their supplier and make up for the loss that they made, because also, you know, you returning the item and them refunding you is a loss for them. So they have all of the interest in the world in changing the suppliers and changing something in their production. They have costs that they're not really breaking even on. I hope you found it interesting, and if you did, give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because I have a goal of reaching 5,000 subscribers by June, and I know that a lot of you watch my channel but don't subscribe, and that's a little bit selfish because I do work a lot on it. So hit the subscribe button and the like button. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.